All right, welcome back. It's your girl Duchess back for the afternoon in this YSL RICO. Well, maybe we should sell YS REIC because half of the case is gone, y'all. But we still have these two defendants, and right now the state is focusing on the unaliving of Mr. Drinks. And I said this morning when I finished the session that they had my attention with the Alamo um, rental custodian testimony. They had my attention a little bit, slightly moved the needle. But after I got ready to do my summary and do some more work where we'll kind of upload a summarized video this afternoon, um, the needle has moved back to all the way team defense. And here's why. So in that testimony, we learned that when Alamo got the car back, the white Audi back that Shannon Stillwell was driving, it had been modified significantly. We already expected the tint. That's what they do. But the liner in the car and the windshield had been removed, and all of the liner in the top of the car had been like cut out, right? And so at first I'm like, why did they do that? If they were shooting at him, was there gunfire stuff or, you know, burns or different things like that that Shannon Stillwell possibly could have been trying to cover up? And so then I went back to Max Schardt's cross, which is always fabulous. Um, you know, it is possible that the police were the ones who altered that vehicle. If they had it in their possession, they are going to chop it up a little bit, looking for any type of paraphernalia, any type of evidence, anything that is hidden. So we can't say that they altered the vehicle. We can say that he did the tint, which Max Sharp did a great job of kind of bringing that back for the jury. They talked about that throughout the case, that they tinted the windows and that kind of thing. So he kind of separated that particular damage. Excuse me. I needed to cough. He separated that particular damage, like Shed and Stillwell's damage versus possibly the police damage. And we don't have anything in between that. Another thing that she didn't report was any type of burns. Like if they were firing weapons, there should have been some type of burns or, I mean, something, some other damage to the vehicle. So they had me swayed for a moment, and then now I'm back team defense. Everyone else, the firearm experts, the ballistic experts, no one, I mean, even testify on the stand, even with cross examining, that they didn't even know who these defendants were, and they had no evidence that either one of them had fired the weapon, held possession of the weapon, had purchased the weapon. Like none of that came to fruition this morning. So much is so that when the state recrossed, um, Assistant DA Love recrossed, and she kind of reiterated, "You don't know who these people are. You have no idea. You don't know." And I was like, "What?" That kind of didn't help the case. So I still have in my mind's eye that vehicle and the alterations done to it. But the only thing so far significantly, definitively that I can say is that he tinted the windows, and I have an explanation for that. Um, the witness, so Mr. Drinks had gone to see his girlfriend sometime around 6 p.m. or so. This was before he was unalive. He had a gentleman with him, or a gentleman met up with him, and they left together from her house. So, where is, I want to say his name was Mr. Burns. We're going to call him Mr. Burns. But where is he? I've saw in some of the other chats that he may no longer be living, but there wasn't any focus on finding this person that was with him that could have possibly been with him when this happened. He could have also been the person who done it. We don't know. It could have been somebody after him. We don't know. We know that the street code supposedly is fully alive and well, right? So who's to say that Shannon Stillwell and Mr. Nichols, who pled out, who's to say that they didn't witness something and they're just keeping it mute? Like, we know that they all kind of sort of left together in the same direction around the same road, and we know that two out of the three um did not continue moving forward after that particular street or whatever, Windsor Street, I believe that's what it is. But that's what we know. We don't have any evidence connecting them together, and then I keep just getting more and more questions. So that was also significant to me, that there is another person who last saw him, and the state has not given any evidence, um like anything regarding this person to either rule them out or rule them in. Even their testimony to when they last saw him and what was he doing before that, like, none of that is in play. So I still have to lean towards the defense. It will be interesting to see how this all continues to play out. What will be the jury's verdict, and what else are they bringing forward? There is also the issue of a detective that they're going to argue about on Friday, on what they can actually question him about, because this person should not have, with the timing of events and everything that was going on, this person should not have any personal knowledge that he can testify to. So Max Schardt has already threatened a mistrial, depending on what comes of that. And the judge wants to see this transcript of whatever interview or whatever they have with this person. She has encouraged them to try to get together and work it out themselves, which is kind of like her style, and then involve me if if I need to rule upon it or whatever. So I'm interested to see what happens with that on Friday. Um, and that's pretty much where we are. The medical examiner, shed some light on what was physically capable of Mr. Drinks after the wounds. Immediately after, there was a traumatic brain injury, that rendered him basically only to breathing and a heartbeat. And if his foot was already on the brake, then that would possibly remain. It's possible. It wasn't for certain. Um, Looks like he may have been hit close range, like, from my understanding. So, so if someone is kind of pulling up beside on the car or whatever, that doesn't seem like close range to me. Um, yeah, it's more questions, not answers, and I still have to lean towards the defense. They did kind of have me swayed at the rental car piece with the modifications done to the car. Like, what were they hiding? Why would they need to do that? But at the same time, it could have been the police. And I mean, at least on television, we see them kind of go through and gut up cars and all of that as part of their investigation. I would expect for them to do the same in this sense. So, anyway, we're back for the afternoon session. I'm going to see how this works. It did give me a break. Um, Child. And if I'm honest, my heart is heavy, you know, this election day thing. But I'm pushing through and keeping on with the things that I'm supposed to be keeping on, right? So here we are. And without further ado, we'll get started with the afternoon session. Apparently, there is an issue with juror number 3 again, if I'm on the correct day. I think I am. Let's keep going.
Ask everybody if they've got any questions, and if you do at that point, you can let me know. Okay. All right, we need juror number 387 out, please. Yes.
No.
What? Not filmed. It can be like audio recorded, but not filmed.
Okay.
I mean, you can't film the juror. You can film the rest of us if you want to. I think you stand even if it's just one juror. Hey, if you could just grab a seat. I got a couple of questions. So I know that earlier this week, your employer reached out to you and inquired whether this this trial that you're on was over. And eventually just said, okay, just send me the next juror excuse note. And I have been in contact with the employer to find out exactly what got said. And so she shared with me y'all's text chain about that. And essentially she says, she just asks, are you still on jury duty? And you say yes. And you ask if everything's okay. And she says, yes, your teammate came in asking which trial you were a juror for and that a specific trial was over. And your response was, everybody and their mama keeps saying that. So what we would like to find out is what anybody might have communicated to you. And I know sometimes you cannot help if people just come up and blurt something out, and hopefully to say, I can't talk about the trial, but what has anybody communicated to you about? And you know that we started with 6 and we now have 2, and I instructed you, don't worry about the reasons for it. Has anybody communicated anything to you? And if so, what?
More so the decrease of the complaints.
Okay.
That's been most of the communication where people assume I wasn't here this week.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you one more thing. And then after you say that, she says, well, that's the reason I'm reaching out. And you said he was one of 6 who are finishing the trial. Who do you mean by he?
The communication when I got it was more so specific to say who wasn't here anymore and why they assumed the case was over.
And who would you have gotten that communication from?
The teammate called. The teammate that made it
Oh.
to her.
Okay.
Called to specify what she meant. I didn't call her, she called her.
Okay. And what did she communicate to you? Just that.
Williams wasn't here.
Okay. And did she say anything other than Williams isn't a part of the trial anymore?
No.
Okay.
It was assumed him not being in the trial.
Meant the trial was over with. Okay. And do you recall the instruction I gave you on Monday, you and the rest of the jury on Monday morning, to essentially not speculate about any reasons why, and that shouldn't have any impact on your verdict or your deliberations?
Because the communication with staff was just trying to figure out how we were supposed to address it.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, you haven't done anything wrong. We just have to figure out, because obviously y'all are supposed to only consider the case based on the evidence and the information you get from here in the courtroom. So just want to make sure that you are able to, I know this communication came after my instruction, so are you still able to follow that instruction?
Yes.
Okay, great, perfect. I'll excuse you back to the jury room. We'll have all of y'all out in just a sec. Okay. Anything anybody wants to put on the record after that?
Your Honor, given that she didn't indicate, as the court said it was looking to hear, I don't suppose so.
Which number it is?
And then I arrived sometime after that.
And I can't remember if it was detective or investigator.
Either one.
Okay, you've been with us before, so I'll just remind you, you're still under oath, and you can go ahead and have a seat.
All right.
Detective Holden, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm great, thank you.
All right. I want to direct your attention to March 14th, 2022. Did you have the occasion to respond to the 400 block of Windsor Street Southwest, the intersection of Windsor Street and Interstate 20, Atlanta, Georgia?
I did, yes, ma'am.
And is that location in Fulton County?
It is.
Why did you respond to that location?
I'm a homicide investigator. There was a homicide that occurred in that intersection, and I was assigned to be the lead investigator for that.
What time did you respond to that location?
I think I got the call around 10:30 at night. And then I arrived sometime after that.
Once you responded to the location, what, if anything, did you find?
Oh, well, I was told that the incident occurred at the intersection of I-20 or underneath the bridge or close to the bridge, I-20 on Windsor Street. I came in off of Fulton Street, I believe, and came in and saw there was a large area surrounding the intersection that was surrounded by a crime scene tape. I pulled up. I was informed by one of my coworkers who was already on scene that the person that had discovered the car and the body was still on scene. And also I checked in with the person that was keeping track of the crime scene log, and I chose to talk with the person that discovered the body first. So I approached him first and interviewed him.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as 65 VV.
Okay.
I'm going to also show you 67 VV. Is that the area in which you responded?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Now, you said you spoke with a witness on the scene. Do you remember that witness's name?
It's Mr. Cheeseborough, I believe his name.
And was he able to provide you information? Without telling me what he said, was he able to provide you information?
Yes, he told me what his experience was there, yes.
Were there any other officers or investigators assisting you when you arrived on scene?
There were, I think Sergeant Butler was there from homicide, as well as a Detective Churchill was already on scene. Those are the two I remember offhand that were there. I know Detective Butler, or excuse me, Sergeant Butler. I was at home when I received the call, so I had to come from home. They were in the office. Sergeant Butler had checked the camera and knew that there was a camera at that intersection. He happened to save the photo. The camera at the DOT there does not record, but it does show live images. But that camera just so happened to have frozen at the point where Mr. Cheeseborough was getting out of his car to go check on the person in the red car.
When you got there and after you spoke with Mr. Cheeseborough, spoke with Sergeant Butler, spoke with Detective Churchill, did you make any observation about the vehicle?
I did.
What did you observe?
Well, the car was in the intersection in the far left lane at the red light, stopped. The driver's side door was open. There were bullet holes in the passenger side of the car, and some of the glass is broken out. And the driver of the vehicle was sitting in the driver's seat, deceased, and there was a pistol in the front seat, laying in the passenger seat. It had the passenger side glass is broken out, and there was glass fragments on top of the pistol.
And I'm going to show you what's been admitted as 77 VV.
There you go.
Now, looking at 77 VV, was there any significance to you about how the glass was sitting on top of the gun?
Yes, from my experience, I believe the gun was sitting on the seat when the shooting happened, and the glass was broken and exploded inward and landed on top of the gun, which indicates to me that it was not used in the interaction. It was just laying in the seat.
And did you ever have the occasion to view more in depthly the victim who was in the driver's seat?
I did, yes.
Did you notice anything with the victim when he was in the driver's seat?
Most notably, his right hand was inside his pants.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
Commissioner.
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 202 VV and 203 VV.
Yes,
Do you recognize 202 VV and 203 VV?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
Those were, when the crime scene is there and the medical examiner is there, they examine the body. The medical examiner does his examination, and our ID unit follows behind and also takes pictures. These photographs are of when the medical examiner was examining the body, and he was pulling back the pants to see what he was holding on to.
Okay. And I'm going to, this is a very accurate depiction of what the medical examiner saw back on March 14, 2022.
Yes.
Your Honor, this kind of state would like to admit 202 VV and 203 VV into evidence.
They're admitted.
I'm going to publish 202 VV on the screen, and I'm going to hand publish 203 VV. Looking at 202 VV, is that how you found the victim's hand when you walked around, saw the body?
Yeah, the medical examiner is pulling his pants back, but it's very similar, yes.
Right. And then looking at 203 VV, is that where his hands were?
Yes.
Now, once you made some observations of the body, what, if anything, did you do next?
Well, part of my initial visit to the crime scene is I try to gather any physical evidence or determine if there's any kind of evidence on the scene that's going to be interest to me or make further investigation. In this particular instance, we did a very thorough search for any shell casings. So obviously, we assumed there should be some shell casings in the intersection, or at least near the car, because of the amount of the shots that went into the car. We didn't find any. We did a very thorough investigation, and we didn't find any shell casings. No physical evidence outside the car was discovered.
And as an investigator, was that a note to you that you did not find any shell casings?
Yes. I mean, at that particular time, I had a couple theories. Was either he was shot, the shell casings landed in the intersection, and during the period of time before the shooting happened and he was discovered, with the cars driving through the intersection, and might have kicked up some shells and moved them out of the way. They got gone. Or he was shot from inside a car, and the shell casings were inside the vehicle he was shot from. And those were just my assumptions on the scene at that time.
And while on scene, did you have crime scene come and process the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And as you already discussed, did the medical examiner's office come out and also examine the body and also remove the body from the scene?
They did, yes.
When you first arrived on scene, did you have knowledge of the identity of the victim?
Not immediately, no, but there was a fingerprint scanner that was brought to the scene. That's a device that we use when we're trying to identify anybody, really. But it's a pretty slick machine where you can take a fingerprint, place it on. It's a mobile device, like this pretty large cell phone shaping.
And were you able to determine the victim's identity?
Yes.
And what was his name?
Shamal Drinks.
And you have a age and the date of birth.
Yes, ma'am. His date of birth was 11/8 of 98.
And how old was he?
I don't know, do some math. 98. I can do it. Hold on a second.
Okay. Would have been 23?
24, well, it depends on his birthday. 23, 24, yeah.
Now, after Mr. Drinks was taken from the scene, did your investigation continue?
Yes.
How?
Well, I didn't really have a whole lot to go on at that time on the scene. We had identified the victim, but other than that, physical evidence was really non-existent. I received a phone call from a Detective Grimsley. It's a friend of mine who works in auto crimes enforcement in the city. He was working that night, and he had taken upon himself to look at some of the city cameras to see if he saw anything. And he called me and said that he saw 2 cars following out the victim out of the BP station. You could see on the camera the red car and the 2 white cars going down to that intersection, the 2 white cars pulling up beside, and then they take off to the intersection and the red car stays there. So that was a clue for me to go back to at least investigate and gather the video from the BP station at the corner of Windsor and Fulton Street to see if there was anything on that video that might help with the investigation.
Did you initially try to look at the city cameras that Grimsley first observed what he told you?
I did. I looked at them.
And
that particular camera is a long ways from the intersection. You can see, but it's grainy. It's not very clear. It just gave me really just a clue or an initiative or a idea that, yeah, there may be something there, but there's nothing definitive could be determined from the city video.
And the cameras that he was looking at, did you know where those cameras were located?
Near Richardson, I think. Richardson and Fulton Street.
Richardson and Fulton or Richardson and
Or
Windsor?
Windsor, I'm sorry, yes.
Permission to approach, Ron?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 217 Victor Victor and 218 Victor Victor.
Yep,
Tell me if you recognize 217 and 218.
I do.
How do you recognize 217 and 218 Victor Victor?
Both of those pictures are taken from Windsor Street at Richardson, where the camera is located.
And do those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of the area of Windsor and Richardson Street? Fair and accurate depiction, Fulton and Windsor Street, Windsor and Richardson Street.
Yes.
Right, Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 215,
213 VV 218 or 217
217 and 218 VV
That's your minute.
Permission to publish.
You may.
And I want to look at 218 BV. Your permission for Secretary Hogan to step down briefly? Permission for him to step down briefly?
Sure.
Looking at 218 BV, where would the BP gas station be as it relates to this intersection of Windsor and Richardson?
Sure. Go down to the next intersection on the other side of Fulton Street on the right-hand corner. Is that
And from this picture, are you able to see where I-20 is?
Yes, but it's in the distance.
Where is
You
this?
see the bridge really.
Thank you so much. Now, did you ever go and obtain the surveillance video from the BP gas station?
I did.
Did you obtain any other surveillance video?
I did.
Okay, where else did you obtain surveillance video from?
From the BP station, King's Liquor Store, which is in the same building behind the BP station downstairs. And then there's a FedEx building on the west side of Windsor, closer to the intersection of Windsor and I-20.
And did you view the surveillance video that you obtained?
I did.
And did you find anything of note on those surveillance videos?
I did.
All right. And have you had opportunity to look at those surveillance videos as well as a compilation video in preparation for your testimony today?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, permission for me to sit while I publish some videos? Thank you.
You may.
I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 116 BB. Can you orient the jurors as to what they are looking at in 116 BB in this particular surveillance?
These images are from an elevated position in the front of the BP store. At the top of the screen is Fulton Street that runs east and west. Off the screen, but to the right side of the picture is Windsor Street that runs north and south.
And I'm going to begin publishing at 39 seconds. And do you know if this is camera 19 of the surveillance video?
Yes.
Was there anything of note looking so far in camera 19?
Well, the white Audi that just pulled in and backed into the parking space off camera, that turned out to be important.
I'm going to pause at 1:08:09. Next, we're going to go to camera 3. Beginning at 00. I'm gonna pause for a moment at 17 seconds. Do you see anything that occurs in the top left corner of the video?
Yes, ma'am. That's the Audi that backed into the parking space. When it went off camera on camera 19, it backed into the front, from near the front doors of the store. And you just, this camera angle just barely caught the right rear of the car backing into space.
And I'm gonna continue playing at 18 seconds. And is this the inside of the BP gas station?
It is, yes.
Pausing at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Was there anything of note for you in that frame?
Yes, ma'am. I determined that the person who just walked in with the pink hat on was involved.
Your Honor,
Yes.
just moving forward, I'm just gonna object to conclusory statements.
Sustained. Disregard that last answer.
I'll answer that question. Was there any person of interest to you in that photo? I mean, that portion of the video? Without
There-
saying why, was there a person of interest?
Yes,
And who was the person of interest?
the person in the pink hat.
Go back to camera 19.
Your Honor, can we close for a second?
Yes.
I was interested.
We're going to fast forward to 1 minute and 59 seconds. And was there anything of note to you in this particular frame?
Yes, I was interested in the white car that just pulled into the gas pumps and the occupants of that car.
And there's
Yes,
two white cars, one that's kind of backing up, and then one at the pump. You said-
that's correct. Yes, at the gas pump.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Hilton, are you the one operating the
Yes.
screen right now? Okay, if you recall what we discussed at the bench,
I'm just trying to get some stuff.
maybe y'all need to leave that with Ms. Knight.
Now posting at 1:37. Did you see the individual that got out of the white vehicle and turned to the store in this fight?
Yes.
For the record, which individual walked out of the white vehicle? Was the individual in the beige outfit?
Person that we have with a beige jacket and the green hoodie underneath.
Now beginning this at 26 seconds. And looking at the video, do you see in this upper corner outside of the store that same white Audi? Are you able to see it?
Yeah, you see the tail light shining through the window.
And is that here where the arrow is pointing?
Yes. You can see the door just opened and somebody exited the driver's side and is walking in.
And did you see the same individual in the pink as we saw in the earlier camera footage walking as well?
Yes, yes.
And then you see the same individual in the beige and the green hoodie walk in as well.
Yes. And then the person with the pink hat puts the item on the counter and the person with the green hoodie pays for it for him.
And the third individual that just walked in, was there anything of note where that third individual for you?
Yes, the young man that had the shower cap on and the white shirt that said Slimer Die on the back, he was a passenger in the white car at the gas pumps, the Ford Fusion. He got out of the car and came in the store after the driver had come in.
you actually see the person with the green hoodie at 4 minutes and 14 seconds in the video come back into the store.
Yes, he walked back to the car, then walked back into outside the store, made a purchase.
Now, does this camera or video image pick up where that last one at?
Yes.
And we'll start at 0.3 seconds within the video? And we're going to pause at 48 seconds within this frame. Starting back at camera 19 at 00, we're going to fast forward to 1 minute and 13 seconds.
The red car pulling into the gas pumps there now is the victim, Shamal Drinks. He's alone in the car.
Is that the same red vehicle that you see at the light?
That is, yes, yes. And you see the driver of the Ford Fusion walks up and gets in his car. Mr. Drinks exits the vehicle and walks into the store. The red car pulling into the gas pumps there now is the victim, Shamal Drinks. He's alone in the car.
Is that the same red vehicle that you see at the light?
That is, yes, yes. And you see the driver of the Ford Fusion walks up and gets in his car. Mr. Drinks exits the vehicle and walks into the store.
Fast forward to 3:47, 59, 3:47.
And then Mr. Drinks returns from the store into his car.
Going to publish camera 14. Beginning at 2:04.
That's Mr. Drinks walking in with the gray sweatpants and the black hoodie. He exits the store
And is that what picks up on the camera and you just see when he walks
when he
out?
returns to his car, yes.
Showing you back camera 3 at 14 seconds. Is this just a close-up view from behind the register of what we just saw in those last 2 clips?
Yes, that wasn't the victim, but yes, it is.
Was that the other individual that we were talking about?
It's the driver of the white Fusion, yes.
That's- Starting at 1:43. And is this still the Audi that we saw earlier?
Yes, it's still sitting there with the tail light. You can see the tail light in the left-hand top corner of the frame.
And again, that's just a close-up angle of what we saw earlier.
That's correct.
And going back to camera 19. Starting at 11 seconds. Do you still see the red vehicle and the white vehicle both at the front?
Yes.
And based on your observation, had this white car been sitting for a few minutes at this point?
Yes.
And is the Audi still over here,
Yes, ma'am.
off camera?
That's correct.
And And it's a red car pulling off.
Yes.
And are we at?
See the red car pulls out on Windsor Street, exit, the Audi follows directly behind, and then the white Ford Fusion falls in behind the Audi.
And was that everything that looked to you on the BP gas station video?
Yes.
And did you also then review images from the King's liquor store?
I did.
And we're going to begin 36 minutes into the video.
So this camera is posted on the outside of the King's liquor store there, pointing out toward Windsor. It's not as detailed, it's a little further away. It's not as high quality of an image as I was getting from the BP, but I was able to see from that vantage point.
And is this Windsor Street right here?
That's correct, yes.
And on the bottom of here, while there's a 2-bar cover, is there a timestamp at the bottom of the street?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so, yes.
Starting at posting at 36. Do you see the timestamp down at the bottom?
I can't see it now.
You can or cannot?
I cannot. But
Do you see the timestamp in the far right corner?
no, ma'am.
Look behind you.
Oh, yes.
And what was the,
It's not on this one.
I'll just. What is the time on the bottom right hand corner?
This is 10:01 PM on the 14th of March, 2022. You see the red car go by?
Was that approximately 10:01:08?
Yes, then there's a white car closely followed behind it. At 10:01:20 something. And there was another white car as well, follows in.
Okay. Is this the red car?
There you go. Yep.
And is this the first white car you
That's
saw?
the first white car, yes.
Is this the second one?
There's the second, yes. It's difficult to determine make and model from that vantage point, but the colors were the same.
Now show me what's been admitted as 117 BB, publishing. Looking at what's been admitted as 117 BB. Where's this surveillance video from?
This is from the FedEx building. It's on the west side of Windsor. The top left-hand corner is where you see the light shining. That's the intersection, the red light intersection just before you go under I-20 at Windsor Street.
And is this the light right here where the hand is circling?
Yes.
I'm gonna fast forward to 1 hour and 1 minute into the video. Approximately 1 hour and 44 seconds.
The car that just pulled up to the light now is stopped. That's the red vehicle.
This part right here?
Yes. The Audi, the first car to follow the red car out is the Audi, the white Audi. It's right next to it.
That right here?
Yes. And then the Ford Fusion is right to the right of that.
That right here.
That's correct.
Now, is there traffic going in the opposite direction where the cars are stopped right now?
Yes, there's traffic now trying to go onto I-20 eastbound.
And so the car where Mr. Drinks and the two white cars are a red light.
That's correct. It's red light now. And the Audi takes off through traffic, through the red light, as well as the white car, the Fusion.
So the Audi and Fusion go through the red light.
Well, the Audi did, yes, ma'am.
And was there still oncoming traffic coming as they were going through that light?
Yes, there was. And then that car did a U-turn, which is a little odd.
Why do you say it was odd?
I don't know if what they witnessed or if they heard anything, but it's suspicious to me that at that particular time, since the red car no longer does not move, and it was at around the same time that the murder occurred, that vehicle might have been privy to some information. It's my assumption.
Were you ever able to locate or find it?
Say again?
Were you ever able to determine what vehicle that was that they?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Now, when you approached the vehicle, the red vehicle, when you got on scene, were there any defects to the back of the vehicle?
All were on the driver's side.
But driver side, passenger side?
I'm sorry, the car that just pulled up to the light now is stopped. That's the red vehicle.
This part right here?
Yes. The Audi, the first car to follow the red car out is the Audi, the white Audi. It's right next to it.
Right here?
Yes. And then the Ford Fusion is right to the right of that.
That right here.
That's correct.
Now, is there traffic going in the opposite direction where the cars are stopped right now?
Yes, there's traffic now trying to go onto I-20 eastbound.
And so the car where Mr. Drinks and the two white cars are a red light.
That's correct. It's red light now. And the Audi takes off through traffic, through the red light, as well as the white car, the Fusion.
So the Audi Fusion go through the red light.
Well, the Audi did, yes, ma'am.
And was there still oncoming traffic coming as they were going through that light?
Yes, there was. And then that car did a U-turn, which is a little odd.
Why do you say it was odd?
I don't know if what they witnessed or if they heard anything, but it's suspicious to me that at that particular time, since the red car no longer does not move, and it was around the same time that the murder occurred, that vehicle might have been privy to some information. It's my assumption.
Were you ever able to locate or find it?
Say again?
Were you ever able to determine what vehicle that was that made?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Now, when you approached the vehicle, the red vehicle, when you got on scene, were there any
The car that just pulled up to the light now is stopped. That's the red vehicle.
this car right here?
Yes. The Audi, the first car to follow the red car out is the Audi, or the white Audi. It's right next to it.
That right here?
Yes. And then the Ford Fusion is right to the right of that.
That right here.
That's correct.
Now, is there traffic going in the opposite direction where the cars are stopped right now?
Yes, there's traffic now trying to go onto I-20 eastbound.
And so the car where Mr. Drinks and the two white cars are a red light.
That's correct. It's red light now. And the Audi takes off through traffic, through the red light, as well as the white car, the Fusion.
So the Audi Fusion go through the red light.
Well, the Audi did, yes, ma'am.
And was there still oncoming traffic coming as they were going through that?
wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now.
Smooth,
Dance, dance, dance.
natural looking, long lasting.
What keep the rental car, or why would they say?
In the white Audi. Okay.
Yeah. Detective Grimsley helped Windsor at I believe, yep, 2156 on the same day, 4 minutes before 10 o'clock at night. The car that just pulled up to the light now is stopped. That's the red vehicle.
This car right here?
Yes. The Audi, the first car to follow the red car out is the Audi, the white Audi. It's right next to it.
That right here?
Yes. And then the Ford Fusion is right to the right of that.
That right here.
That's correct.
Now, is there traffic going in the opposite direction where the cars are stopped right now?
Yes, there's traffic now trying to go onto I-20 eastbound.
And so the car where Mr. Drinks and the two white cars are a red light.
That's correct. It's red light now. And the Audi takes off through traffic, through the red light, as well as the white car, the Fusion.
So the Audi and Fusion go through the red light.
Well, the Audi did, yes, ma'am.
And was there still oncoming traffic coming as they were going through that light?
Yes, there was. And then that car did a U-turn, which is a little odd.
Why do you say it was odd?
I don't know if that what they witnessed or if they heard anything, but it's suspicious to me that at that particular time, since the red car no longer does not move, and it was around the same time that the murder occurred, that vehicle might have been privy to some information. It's my assumption.
Were you ever able to locate or find it?
Say again?
Were you ever able to determine what vehicle that was that made?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Now, when you approached the vehicle, the red vehicle, when you got on scene, were there any defects to the back of the vehicle?
All were on the driver's side.
But driver's side, passenger side?
I'm sorry, the passenger side of the vehicle, yes. I don't recall any in the rear.
And this now the car's still stationary?
Yes, it does not move anymore. It stays there till we get there.
I'm gonna fast forward to 127. And as I fast forward, is the car still sitting there?
Yes, ma'am.
Start at 127.02. And at 127.02, is the car still sitting there?
Yes.
And do you see the car pull up on the opposite side of the street to the red car?
Yes.
And based on what you know, was that Mr. Cheeseborough's car?
That was, yes.
It was at approximately 127, 1 hour, 27 minutes into this video.
Yes.
And the car was stationary beginning at 1 hour and 1 minute into this video.
That's correct.
Permission to approach him?
You may.
Have you had an opportunity to look at a kind of a compilation video of all of those three videos kind of spliced together?
Yes,
And did that appear to be a fair, accurate, is this what's contained in 250 BP?
yes,
And does that appear to be a fair, accurate depiction of those surveillance images that we just watched?
they were, yes, they are.
Right, just trying to say what like a trigger in the mid 250, 230 BP.
All right, that is admitted, 230 VV.
I'm sorry, permission to publish.
You may.
So the Audi comes in, backs into the parking space.
And looking at the bottom of the video, is there a timestamp on the video? Can you see it?
Yes, it says 2151, which is, it's 9:51 PM.
And is it on March 14, 2022?
Yes. The Fusion arrives at the gas pump and the driver gets out, walks inside. He's followed inside a short time later by the driver's side rear passenger.
And what time is it now? This is the time.
Says 21, when the camera changed, it changed to 21:50 on the March 14th, 2022. See the car backing into the space outside the window. See the taillights of the car.
And again, that's with the Audi, correct?
That's correct. That's the Audi that backed into the front just prior to the Fusion arriving. At some point, you can see it. It's hard to see, but you can see through the window that the driver's side door opens. And the driver steps out and walks inside. You can follow him from this angle, follow him to the front door, and it's the young man wearing a pink hat and glasses. So that's at 2051. And then shortly thereafter, the driver of the Ford Fusion comes in.
Did you mean 2151 or 951?
That's correct. That's what I said. I probably said that.
And at the time, did you know the names of any of these individuals who were in these videos at all?
I had no idea. So 2152, 11 seconds or thereabouts, driver the Fusion in the beige jacket and hoodie, green hoodie coming in. He comes in and he buys something for the driver of the Audi in the pink hat. Then the passenger from the Ford Fusion comes in and the driver of the Audi interacts with him, indicating to me that they knew each other. And then the passenger exits with the other two drivers. Okay, now we're back at 2153. 953, the driver of the Fusion and the passenger walk back to the Fusion. I'll get back in the car and sit there for a few minutes.
And what time is it now?
2154, 20 seconds. It's 9:54. It's almost 10 o'clock on the same day. Driver of the Fusion is out and walks back in the store.
And so that same 954 time.
That's correct. 9:54. Makes a purchase.
And is this the red car with Mr. Drinks arriving?
That's correct. So Mr. Drinks arrives as the driver of the Ford Fusion is walking back to his car.
And what time is it now?
It's at 21:56. I believe, yep, 21:56 on the same day. 4 minutes before 10 o'clock at night.
And has the driver of the Ford Fusion already gotten back into the car?
Yes, ma'am. He's returned to his driver's seat and they sit there, both the Fusion and the Audi sit there until Mr. Drinks leaves. Mr. Drake goes in to the store, makes a purchase,
And what time is it now?
21:57 on the same day.
And this juncture has the Ford Fusion been sitting idle for approximately since about 21:56 p.m.
Sure, yes.
And in Audi, have you seen any more activity since 21:54, 21:55?
No, ma'am. Mr. Drake leaves,
And what time is it now?
21:59. We're at 21:58 now on the camera 19. $21.59. There's Mr. Drake's exiting the store.
And it has the Ford Fusion now been sitting idle for about 3 minutes.
Yes.
And from your observation, have multiple cars come and gone in the period of time when both the Audi and the Ford Fusion are sitting idle?
Yes.
And what time is it now?
So it's 10 o'clock. 2200.
And is it 22:01 or 10:01 p.m.?
It's 22:01 right now on the video.
And does the red car pull off at approximately 10:01 p.m. in the video?
Yes.
And is it only then that the white Audi pulled off?
That's correct.
And has the white Audi been sitting idle for about at least 5 minutes prior to him pulling off?
Yes. And then the Fusion as well.
And has that been sitting idle for about 5 minutes prior to him pulling off?
Yes. This camera's capturing images. The metadata on that says it's not a military time. There's a red car go by at 10:01, followed by the white car at 10:01 in some seconds. And then the third car, the white car, at 10:01.
And then does it pick up with the FedEx images that we saw a few moments ago?
That's correct, yes.
Now, did you, as you were watching the video, take still images of some of the certain portions of each of those videos?
I did.
I'm gonna show you State's Exhibit 204 VV through 215 VV. And have you had the opportunity to look at these previously? And then 245 VV through 247 VV.
Yes, I have.
And were those very accurate pictures of the screenshots that you took from the surveillance videos that we just seen?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 245 VV through 247 VV, and then 204 VV through 215 VV.
All right, those are admitted.
Now, Investigator Hogan, how many homicides have you handled where there has been a vehicle associated with the potential perpetrators of the homicide?
I hadn't kept count, but a great number of homicides or vehicles are utilized.
For those cases that you have, about how many of those cases does this target vehicle have tinted windows?
Objection, Honor, relevance.
Can you establish the relevance of that?
Yes. Let me back up. The Audi vehicle that you were observing, did it have tinted windows?
It appeared to, yes.
And in the cases that you've dealt with that have target cars or vehicles related to a homicide, is it uncommon for those target vehicles to have tinted windows?
Relevance.
Seems sustained at this point.
Now, after looking at the surveillance video, did you receive any assistance from a Detective Bender?
I did.
And how did Detective Bender assist you?
Well, we work together quite often in our investigations. Detective Bender is, she sits real near me in the office, or sat real near me in the office. And she asked if she could help, and I asked her to help me identify. I knew that she was very good with our camera system, our LPR system, that captures tags. So I asked her to help me identify the cars, see if she could find the cars on the system and identify their tag numbers for me, which she was able to do pretty quickly.
And were there any particular LPR reads that were significant to your investigation?
Yes.
Okay. And what were the reads that were significant to your investigation?
So Detective Bender was able to find a white Audi that hit on a license plate reader at Windsor at Richardson Street, which is right around the corner, at 9:49 p.m. on the night of the murder, as well as a white Ford Fusion that was closely following behind it. That was at 9:50. So one was at 9:49, one was at 9:50. They were both headed in the direction of the BP station.
And is that the same area where that Vic camera was located in the picture that we looked at earlier today?
Yes, yes, ma'am, it is. Detective Viverito was on.
Okay. And at the time, do you recall, was Detective Viverito working in Atlanta Police Department or was she working somewhere else at the time?
She's kind of jumped around. I think she was either with the DA's office and assigned there, or she was responding to the house. And while they were there, they took pictures of cars and of the people that were there and detained. And she showed me images of the people that were there, including the two people she had identified, and they were still wearing the same clothes. The one image that I spotted was a young man in the back seat who was wearing the leopard print shower cap. He had the pink hat, the hoodie, the same hoodie, and just recognized the face.
Okay. And I'm going to show you 167 BV. Tell me if you recognize 186.
Planning on doing a crime.
And what about, is there any significance of tint on vehicles as a homicide investigator?
I don't see why not. Sure.
Could that be a reason why someone would repeatedly rent cars for years?
Overruled.
Could that be a reason?
Sure. I don't see why not. Sure.
Could that be a reason why someone would?
I don't see why not. Sure. I don't see why not. Sure.
Could that be? Reason why someone would rent a car?
I don't see why not. Sure.
Could that be a reason why someone would repeatedly rent cars for years, switch them up, so people couldn't track him down and kill him? Could that be a reason?
Overruled.
Could that be a reason?
Sure.
How about an individual whose friends had just been gunned down 3 days prior? Could you envision a situation where that individual would want to rent a car so no one knows what he's driving?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Yes.
Okay. And tinted windows. You said tinted windows can be used to commit crimes because you can't see in as well. Could conceal an identity.
That's correct. That's what I said. Yes.
By that same logic, couldn't tinted windows keep people who are trying to kill you off of your scent, off of knowing what you're driving?
Yes.
Especially 3 days after they have murdered 2 of your friends in cold blood?
Sure.
Could that be another reason why someone would rent a car?
Yes.
Could that be a reason why someone would rent a car and break a rental agreement and put tint on those windows?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. This warrant that you took out, sir, for the rest of Mr. Stillwell, you charged him with murder, the murder of Shamal Drinks, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you specifically charged him with the shooting of Shamal Drinks, correct?
I'd have to look at the wording, but I think he used the word partaking.
May I approach your Honor?
You may.
Would looking at a copy of the warrant that you took out assist you in remembering the wording?
Sure.
Grab the wrong one. Got it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And just refresh your recollection, and if after your recollection is refreshed, if you could look up.
Sure. Yes,
Okay, and in fairness, you did say participate
yes,
in the warrant, but you said by shooting Shamal Drinks.
that's correct.
Okay, on 3/14/2022.
That's correct.
Okay, so specifically, your allegation in that warrant is that Mr. Stillwell was the shooter of Shamal Drinks, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And we've talked about some of the evidence that you think you have on this case. You know, let's just call it what it is. I know that we've been referring to the man in the pink hat, okay, or the man with the slime or die shirt. You have BP video from the corner of Windsor and Fulton Street, correct?
yes,
Clear video.
it's very good, yeah.
And it shows my client wearing a Pink Floyd hoodie and a pink hat. And it shows Mr. Guamarvius Nichols, correct?
Yes,
And it shows Mr. Miles Farley, correct?
yes,
Okay, cool. And you had that video, and then you also have these rental records of renting the car on that day. Now, let me ask you this. Is there any indication at all, if we're talking about planning something, is there any indication at all that anyone would have known that Shamal Drinks was going to show up at the gas station at that time?
no, not that
Okay,
I know of.
okay. Do you know where Shamal Drinks was coming from?
No,
Okay. And then you have video from the FedEx, correct?
I do.
Okay, and that shows Windsor Street.
Yes,
And you maintain that that video shows that my client in his white Audi pulled up next to Shamal Drinks' car.
yes,
And you maintain that that video shows that my client shot Shamal Drinks.
participated, yes,
Okay. I mean, your theory is that my client was driving,
yes,
okay? And your theory is that the shot was fired out of the driver's side of the car.
of the Audi, yes,
Yeah. Your theory is that Shannon Stillwell was in that white Audi and shot Shamal Drinks at that stoplight.
yes,
And your contention is that video, that FedEx video, will back that up ultimately.
that's my conclusion from my investigation, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's go back to where this investigation started. Evening of 3/14/22.
Okay,
Okay, and you see this red car with this gentleman inside who's sadly deceased, correct?
Yes,
And you arrived before the body was removed, correct?
that's right.
Okay. Now, this is your crime scene. I know that you weren't the first one there, were you?
No,
Okay, but this is your crime scene.
yes,
So you're in charge of knowing the status of the crime scene and where everything was at the time it was first discovered.
ultimately, yes, I am.
Okay. So let me ask you. The Nissan Versa, the red Nissan Versa, before anyone came to the assistance, before Mr. Cheeseborough showed up, was that car still on?
When I was there, I don't remember it being running, no.
No, I'm asking, since it's your crime scene, when the first people showed up, to your understanding, it's your investigation.
I wasn't,
Speculation calls for hearsay.
Is he the lead detective? Okay, well, overruled on the speculation, and would your report contain all of that?
it doesn't, if the car was on or not. I know the lights were on. As far as the car was running, the door was open when I got there.
That's the next thing I'm going to ask you.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're not
Sounds
certain.
like he didn't know.
So you're not certain. Okay, so the car was running. Or is
Obviously-
that what you're not certain of?
obviously it was running when he pulled into the stoplight. When I got there, I don't recall if it was running. I know the lights were on, the door was open. I don't recall if the car was still running or not.
When you got there, the
When I
lights
got
of the
there,
car were on and the door was open.
The lights were on.
Right, the lights of the car were on and the door is open. And when we say the door, we're talking about the driver's side
That's correct.
front door. Okay. Now my question is, before you got there, before anyone got there, was that door open? That front driver's side door to the Versa?
It's my understanding it stayed closed until the paramedics or EMTs opened the door to check on the victim.
Okay. How about Mr. Drinks's feet? Were they on the brake?
I believe they were, yes.
How about the gas? Was one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas?
I don't recall that.
You don't know, or are you saying no, that's not true?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. And when one of your first tasks was to determine the identity of this gentleman, correct?
It's one of the first things, yes.
Okay, and you weren't the only one there. There were other officers there, correct?
Yes,
And among those officers was representative from the gang unit, correct?
yes.
Okay, Investigator Flores?
May have been, I don't recall.
Okay. Either way, even with the assistance of the gang unit on scene and all APD resources, no one recognized this gentleman, Mr. Drinks.
He was not officially identified until we did the fingerprint scan.
Right. Now it's about 1:06 a.m. that next morning, correct?
It was while we were on scene. I don't know exactly what time it was.
Okay, fair enough. Miss Hilton, if you could do me a favor, please, could you publish, I'm sorry, Mr. Abadi said he was going to help me. You're going to help me with something else. Thank you. 107 Victor. Thank you, Miss Knight. Cell phone, do you see that cell phone in Exhibit 107, Victor?
Is it the one in the pocket there? Is that what that is? Yes, I see it. Oh, it's on his arm, I believe, yes. Plugged in.
Do you see that cell phone?
I do, yes.
Okay. As an investigator of homicides, do you often collect cellular phones?
Yes,
And that's from victims and suspects, correct?
yes.
Okay, and in reality is cell phones, if you're able to get into the cell phones and have authorization to get into cell phones, they have a wealth of information, correct?
Sometimes they do, yes.
They can have call logs. They can have contacts, correct?
Yes,
They can potentially have tracking information, who you're in contact with. Excuse me, places you've been.
yes,
You can learn a lot about a person from a cell phone, correct?
yes, you can.
You can learn who their friends are.
Yes,
You can learn who their enemies are, potentially.
potentially, yes.
Okay. In this case, as lead investigator, you are aware that actually 2 cell phones belonging to my client have been seized in this case, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And their contents have been extracted, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Now, Mr. Drinks, as lead investigator, did you ask the crime scene tech or crime scene tech Davis or any other individuals to seize or to collect Mr. Drinks's cell phone?
yes,
Okay. And were you ever able to analyze the contents of Mr. Drinks' cell phone?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay, you don't recall ever seeing the contents?
No,
Okay, so as far as you recall, we don't know who is in Mr. Drinks' contacts?
no,
We don't know what he's been texting about leading up to this incident?
no, I'm not aware of.
Okay. We don't know of anyone that he's had disagreements with or squabbles with or anything like that from his cell phone?
I'm not aware of any of that, no.
Okay, and you're not aware because not saying that none of that exists in his cell phone, but you just haven't seen the contents of his cell phone.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I want to talk to you about these videos, if that's okay.
Sure.
And Mr. Abate, I'm going to ask you to just be on standby in case I need to publish anything. Thank you. Detective, we had the BP video,
That's correct.
several different camera angles,
That's correct.
okay? Including outside at the pumps, inside the store from different angles.
That's correct.
Okay, we have the King's Liquor video,
Yes,
the surveillance video, and then we had the FedEx video.
that's correct.
Okay, let's talk about the BP video first, and I'm not going to replay all the videos. You see my client, Shannon Stillwell, in the pink hoodie and pink hat, arrive in the white Audi, correct?
Yes,
In the white Audi that was rented in his name,
that's correct.
and the white Audi that he told Investigator Viverito on March 16th, yeah, that's the Audi I'm driving, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and it did have tinted windows, didn't it?
Yes,
All right. You see him arrive at the store, and then you see Mr. Comarvius Nichols arrive in a Ford Fusion shortly thereafter, correct?
yes, sir.
Mr. Nichols pumps gas.
Yes,
Okay. Mr. Farley is an occupant of Mr. Nichols' car, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, they all enter the store. They're on video.
Yes,
Okay. Mr. Farley's wearing a Slime or Die shirt.
that's correct.
Okay. Do you know anything about Mr. Farley's background or history?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know that he's a clothing designer?
No idea.
That he creates those shirts, those slime shirts, and sells them to the public?
Okay.
Okay. You were not aware of that before today?
No, sir.
Okay. So you see those 3 individuals go in and out of the store. First, you see Mr. Nichols go up to the register with Mr. Stillwell, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And in all these videos, you don't see anyone with a handgun or anything like that.
No, sir.
You don't see anyone that seems to be irate or upset, do you?
No,
Well, maybe some people in the store, but not these three individuals.
that's correct, yes.
All right. You see Mr. Nichols make a purchase and buy some gum for Mr. Stillwell, correct?
Yeah, he bought something for him. I couldn't tell what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, he did.
And this is the first time Mr. Nichols was in the store before he pumped his gas, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And you see Mr. Nichols joking around with the clerk, acting like he's pulling out all these bills.
Right.
And then you see Mr. Farley come in.
Yes.
And you see Mr. Stillwell turn around on Mr. Farley and act like a monster and kind of scare
Right.
Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Farley. And Mr. Farley does this weird pirouette.
Right. Yes.
They're playing around.
That's correct.
Okay. Everyone seems, from the video, no one seems upset.
No.
Okay. Later on, you see Mr. Nichols come back in the store to make another purchase, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what he purchases?
No.
Okay. Ms. Hilton, I'm going to ask if you could play the video of where Mr. Nichols comes into the store for the second time and makes a purchase. If you could play that. Are you able to see what he is purchasing?
It looked to me to be like some Black and Milds, maybe. I don't.
Okay.
That's a guess. I don't know.
Okay, appreciate that answer, and I know that it's noted that it's just a guess. And you can stop myself. Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach with DS 56?
You may.
Sir, I'm approaching you with what's been marked as DS 56. Do you recognize that image?
Yeah, it's an image from the series of video we just watched.
Okay, that's a still image from the video we just watched?
It appears to be so, yes.
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate representation of the video we just watched?
Sure.
Image from the video we just watched?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I would move to admit DS 56 into evidence.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Could those be backwoods blunts?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know what backwoods are?
So like a little cigar, isn't it? Something like that.
Okay, is it also something from your experience that can be gutted and used to roll a marijuana blunt?
Yes.
Okay, how long, to your knowledge, if you know, have you ever seen anyone, we'll just say on video, through police, through detective work, have you ever seen anyone roll a marijuana blunt?
I'm aware of how it's done. I've never witnessed it.
Okay, it takes some time, correct?
I would
Depending on
assume.
how experienced you are?
Yeah, I would assume it would, yes.
Okay, and is this purchase made right before Mr. Nichols returns to his car?
Yes.
When he's sitting there for like 4 minutes as idle, as Miss Hilton said?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know, yes or no, whether what was going on in that car with Mr. Nichols was Mr. Nichols was sitting there using those backwoods to roll himself a marijuana blunt? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in the entire BP video, we see Shamal drinks. show up, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and again, no indication that anyone was expecting him to show up.
No.
Okay. While Shamal Drinks was present at the BP, he walks into the store, correct?
He does.
How many times does he walk in the store? Once or twice?
Just once.
Okay. And he makes a purchase,
Correct.
and there's apparently some other man on the video that's trying to steal some condoms or something, and the clerk is having a problem with him, correct?
Yeah, there's a little kerfuffle.
Okay.
Sustained.
Do you see a man getting into it with the clerk and then suddenly pulling condoms out of his pocket and throwing them back at the cashier?
I remember that interaction. I don't know his condoms, but yeah.
Okay. And then Mr. Drinks has some interaction with that individual, and they leave together at the store.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who that person is? The person that Mr. Drinks was interacting with?
Do not.
Okay. Have you ever interviewed the clerk about what was going on in the store?
No.
Do you know who the clerk was?
No.
Okay. Throughout the entire time that Mr. Drinks is on the video, and quite frankly, Mr. Stillwell is on the video at the BP, Mr. Farley, or Mr. Nichols, do you see any interaction between Mr. Drinks and any of those three individuals?
No.
Do you see any hostility between Mr. Drinks and those three individuals?
No.
Okay, Mr. Drinks was having some hostility with the clerk, right?
He was observing that, but yes.
Okay. But not with these individuals. You don't see any mean looks or anything, do you?
No.
Okay. So then we go to the King liquor store video.
Gotcha.
Okay. And just to be clear, do you know how we have timestamps on some of these videos and no timestamps on other videos, right?
Yes.
Okay. The videos that have timestamps, and I understand that King Liquor and the BP are under the same management, right? You don't know?
Not privy. It makes sense, but
Okay.
I'm not privy to that.
All right, but do you have any reason to believe that the BP video, the timestamps would match perfectly with the timestamps, or they're perfectly synced up with the FedEx video, for instance?
I don't know.
Okay, and do you have any reason to believe that any of these videos would be perfectly synced up with phone records or anything like that, like records held by Sprint or another phone company?
No.
In your experience as an investigator, businesses that have these surveillance systems, there are times, you can get an hour of footage, but the time on that footage can be off, correct?
It can be, yes. If not set correctly, yes.
Okay. All right. In the BP video, besides the Ford Fusion, the Nissan Versa, and the Audi, did you note any other vehicles of interest that piqued your curiosity in the BP video?
No.
Okay. How about in the King's Liquor video, when you see 3 cars driving up Windsor Street? Did you see any other cars that piqued your curiosity?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about the FedEx video. We do see the red Versa go up to the left lane, correct?
Yes, we do.
And we do see what appears to be the white Audi, and especially when you link it up with the BP video, end up in the center lane, correct?
That's correct.
And then we do see the white Ford Fusion end up in the right lane.
Yes.
And we do see the white Audi run a red light, don't we?
We do.
Okay. do you know anything about the history of the attempts on Mr. Stillwell's life?
I do not.
Okay. You don't know that in 2015, a car gunned up behind him or sped up behind the car that he was in and riddled the back of that car with bullet holes?
Objection, he said he doesn't know about any of this.
Sustained.
Have you ever heard the name T.R. Jones?
No.
Okay. Anyways, you see Mr. Stillwell run that red light in the white Audi.
I do, yes.
And then you see Mr. Nichols in the Ford Fusion run the same red light.
Yes.
Okay, cool. In that video, we see I'll get there in a second. Let's talk about LPRs. Detective Bender helped you with the LPRs in this case, correct?
She did, yes.
And you consider this an important part of police work because you're able to track the movements of specific cars.
Yes.
And you, at that time, felt that the white Audi was a suspect car, correct?
I did.
And you wanted to track its movements.
Yes.
And you thought the white Ford Fusion was a suspect car.
I did.
And you wanted to track its movements.
I did.
And Detective Bender was able to get you all that information about the movements of those cars, or I shouldn't say the movements, but different places in time and different times where the LPRs picked up those license plates throughout those 2 days that you ran them. I believe it was 2 days.
Yes. Whatever she found, she was able to identify the tag numbers and the cars and where they were. Yes.
Okay. As lead investigator, besides the Versa, besides the Audi, and besides the Fusion, did you ask Detective Bender to run LPRs on any other specific cars that you may or may not have seen in any of those videos?
I couldn't ask her to run something I didn't see, and there was no other cars. No.
No other cars that piqued your interest?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. You were able to obtain the rental agreement for this Audi, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that Mr. Stillwell rented this car on 3/14 at approximately 3 in the afternoon?
Well, let me check. Yes. That's correct.
And you are aware that he gave all of his personal information, his license, his signature, his phone number, his address. He appeared on surveillance at the Alamo. He did all those things while renting that car.
Yes.
And you're aware that in the early morning of March 16th, which would be 2 days after this incident, Investigator Viverito and Investigator Flores spoke to him in the back of a police car after the house he was in was shot up, correct?
Yes.
And they took pictures, right?
Yes.
And you're aware that he told Investigator Viverito, yes, that's the car I'm driving.
He did.
And you're also aware from the Alamo records that later on March 16th, 2022, he actually called Alamo to extend his rental on that car until March 20th, correct?
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. Could you look at your investigative summary, if you would? And I'm going to refer you to page 19.
Okay.
Okay, does page 19 It's page 19 of
Oh, yes.
25.
Yeah, at the very top you're talking about?
I'm about 2/3 of the way down. Do you see a notation, 16 March 2022, 1337? Shannon wants to extend the rental or the rent.
Yes, I do see that.
Okay. And then at 1337, they talk about a rate and Shannon agrees.
That's correct.
Okay, so under your theory, my client appeared on video at the BP with this rental, is on video shooting man out of the driver's side of this rental. And then 2 days later is telling investigator Viverito, that's my car, right?
Yes.
And then also later on March 16th, seeks not to get rid of this car, but to extend the rental.
It appears so, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's talk about gunshot residue. Gunshot, you testified earlier in this case, and we talked a little bit about gunshot residue, right?
Yeah, we did.
And you said you got to be careful about gunshot residue because of the false positives.
Right, yeah, you could be
Okay.
anywhere in the room. If a gunshot goes off, we all in here would have gunshot residue on us.
Right. We're talking about microscopic particles
That's correct.
that are expelled out of a vehicle, out of a firearm when a firearm is shot.
That's right.
Okay. And these particles are expelled in a way that you just said, if someone shot a gun in here, we could all have gunshot residue on us.
That's correct.
Okay. And that would be unfair if I shot a gun to say, well, you have gunshot residue on you, because that would be a false positive on you.
That's correct.
Okay. But gunshot residue does detect if a gunshot was fired in the area, correct?
Yes, it's evidence of that a gunshot was in the area, right?
All right. Especially in fabrics and cloth and things of that nature, correct?
I'm not that would make sense to me, but I'm not an expert on it, but yes.
Okay. Well, those type of materials would not be subject to something like hands where you could sweat the gunshot residue off, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in this case, that FedEx video that you viewed, we see traffic lights, right?
Yes.
We can see brake lights, correct?
Yes.
We can see headlights, correct?
Yes.
What we don't see is a muzzle flash, do we?
No.
Okay. Now, you testified about shell casings.
Yep.
And you said you looked all over for shell casings on the scene.
We did, yes.
And shell casings are the cartridges that are expelled when a gun is fired.
That's correct.
Okay, and there were at least 2 or 3 shots fired just from looking at Mr. Drinks' the red Versa, correct?
At least, yes.
Okay, so you were looking for 2 or 3 or possibly more shell casings on the road, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't find any.
None.
And your conclusion was, of course, maybe you missed them. That's always a possibility. But the other possibility, as you stated in direct, is the person who's shooting the gun didn't put the gun outside of the car where you would see the muzzle flash. The gun was actually inside the car when it was fired, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and certainly if the gun is inside the car, that would cause gunshot residue to be spread throughout the car.
You assume so, yes, sir.
Including the headliner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You decided to collect the headliner.
Say again?
Well, let me ask you that because I don't know that for certain. You worked along with CS crime scene technician Antoinette Green to process this car, correct? The car being the Audi. Mr. Stillwell was arrested
Yes.
on March
and I'm
17th.
trying to recall, because it's not in my report. I knew you were gonna, but I don't. Do you have anything to refresh my memory? Do they have a crime scene report with my name on it? Because I don't.
I don't have anything written by you, sir.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, but let's try to work through this. On March 17th, you know that Mr. Stillwell was arrested
Yes.
on the warrant state that you brought on March 16th.
Yes.
Okay, and he was arrested in Atlanta. He wasn't in another state or anything like that, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And when he was arrested, he was actually still in the white Audi that he had extended the rental for, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the Audi was collected as evidence, correct? Brought to the police impound.
That's procedure. Yes.
Okay. Are you not aware that crime scene technician Green, do you know who Antoinette Green is? Is she a crime scene technician with APD?
Yes.
Are you aware that she processed that car?
I don't recall for sure. I know I've done several cars with her before, but in this particular case, I don't recall being with her to process the car.
Do you, understood.
This particular car.
Do you recall a headliner was collected in this case, correct? You do know that.
I do not.
You don't know that the headliner of the Audi was collected as evidence in this case and analyzed?
It makes sense that it would be, but I don't.
Okay.
I don't recall that. No, sir.
In your experience, your expertise as an investigator, a homicide investigator, a headliner would be a very appropriate piece of the car to collect, to check for gunshot residue.
Again, yes, sir. It makes sense. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
And it should have gunshot residue in it if a gun is fired from within that car, correct?
If it has not been cleaned, yes.
Okay. All right. Do you know, as we sit here today, whether or not a GBI analyst tested that headliner for gunshot residue?
Do not.
You don't know what the results are either, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. You took out warrants on March 16th, 2022 at 6:39 p.m., correct? For my client as well as Mr. Nichols and Mr. Farley.
Yes, well, 6:40 p.m., but yeah.
Okay, 6:40 p.m.
On the
And that
16th,
was
16th, yeah.
And that was right after, or shortly after you had that conversation with Investigator Viverito in police headquarters, where she identified the people that were in the BP
That's
video.
correct. Yeah, her,
Okay.
the Sergeant Belknap, yes.
So once you had an identification from the BP, that's when you move forward with the arrest warrants against Mr. Stillwell.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to talk to you about your analysis of the FedEx video. You have your report in front of you, correct?
I do.
Okay. At the time that you swore out these warrants against Mr. Stillwell, you had never even viewed that FedEx video, had you?
I don't think I got that till afterwards. I did speak with a representative who described it to me and sent me some still shots.
Okay. And I'm gonna go to page 14, going into 15 of your investigative report.
Okay.
On page 14, going to 15, you write, as of the writing of this report, and this report was written on 3/20/22, correct?
Well, that's when I started it, but yeah.
Okay, so you started this report 4 days after you you obtained the arrest warrants for Mr. Stillwell.
That's correct.
You started this report 4 days after that. Okay.
Yes.
And-
This part, now I had notes and all that stuff, but
Understood. And you say, as of the writing of this report, the actual video from FedEx has been requested via a subpoena, but has not been received. The above pictures were sent to me by a FedEx corporate officer who told me that he had watched a video which shows that the two white cars pulled up alongside the red Nissan, forming a straight line across the road. And then suddenly the two white cars sped away against the red light and the red car stays in place. That's verbatim from your report, correct?
yes, sir.
And your report is accurate to that fact.
It is, yes.
You, at the time of writing this report, and certainly at the time of bringing out warrants against my client, you had not watched that FedEx video.
No,
But you had spoken to someone at FedEx corporate that sent you some still pictures, correct?
that's correct.
And had told you what they felt they saw on that video, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who was that FedEx corporate officer who analyzed this FedEx video?
I don't remember.
Do you know that person to have any law enforcement training?
Not familiar with it.
Okay. Do you know how many times that person watched that video before giving you his or her conclusions about what the FedEx video contained?
No,
Okay. When did you finally receive the FedEx video?
I don't recall exactly when I got it.
Do you remember what month?
No, I don't remember.
When did you remember when you first watched that FedEx video?
I've seen it several times, but I don't remember when I first saw it. No.
Was it months after bringing out these arrest warrants on Mr. Stillwell?
No, it wasn't months. It was a few days probably.
Well, a few days would have been 4 days afterwards you started writing this report, and you didn't even have the FedEx video then. So could it have been longer than a few days before you watched the video?
It could have, yes, it could have been.
Okay. And of course, you brought those warrants on March 16th, 2022, without any gunshot residue results from that white Audi.
That's correct.
You said you saw a car in that video, the FedEx video. Ms. Hilton, could you play the FedEx video for me? Thank you. And it can be 101:20, we can start. I think it's fair to say you saw a car making a U-turn on the video and you saw it was a little odd.
Yes.
It piqued your interest?
Well, it just, yeah, it did. I wouldn't say it piqued my interest. It just went with the situation, I guess.
I think you said you thought on direct, you testified, you thought that the person driving that car may have heard or seen something, correct?
Yes, I did.
And the reason you say that is because that person driving that car abruptly made a U-turn.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are. It's not me.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we could go to 101:20, yeah, just. That's Mr. That's Red Versa pulling up.
Okay, y'all, my auntie called me, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't on there, but I also want to rewind this a little bit. And I just realized that I didn't add my audio to the stage. So a lot of my comments.
When did you remember when you first watched that FedEx video?
I've seen it several times, but I don't.
Okay.
Let me see where he is. Because I really want to see what.
You took out warrants on
Okay.
investigative report.
Okay.
On page 14, going to 15, you write, as of the writing of this report, and this report was written on 3/20/22, correct?
Well, that's when I started it, but yeah.
Okay, so you started this report 4 days after you you obtained the arrest warrants for Mr. Stillwell.
That's correct.
You started this report 4 days after that. Okay.
Yes.
And-
This part, now I had notes and all that stuff, but
Understood. And you say, as of the writing of this report, the actual video from FedEx has been requested via a subpoena, but has not been received. The above pictures were sent to me by a FedEx corporate officer who told me that he had watched a video which shows that the two white cars pulled up alongside the red Nissan, forming a straight line across the road. And then suddenly the two white cars sped away against the red light and the red car stays in place. That's verbatim from your report, correct?
yes, sir.
And your report is accurate to that fact.
It is, yes.
You, at the time of writing this report, and certainly at the time of bringing out warrants against my client, you had not watched that FedEx video.
No,
But you had spoken to someone at FedEx corporate that sent you some still pictures, correct?
that's correct.
And had told you what they felt they saw on that video, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who was that FedEx corporate officer who analyzed this FedEx video?
I don't remember.
Do you know that person to have any law enforcement training?
Not familiar with it.
Okay. Do you know how many times that person watched that video before giving you his or her conclusions about what the FedEx video contained?
No.
Okay. When did you finally receive the FedEx video?
I don't recall exactly when it when I got it.
Do you remember what month?
No, I don't remember.
When did you remember when you first watched that FedEx video?
I've seen it several times, but I don't remember when I first saw it now.
Was it months after these arrests were on Mr. Stillwell?
No, it wasn't months. It was a few days probably.
Well, a few days would have been 4 days afterwards you started writing this report, and you didn't even have the FedEx video then. So could it have been longer than a few days before you watched the video?
It could have, yes, it could have been.
Okay. And of course, you brought those warrants on March 16th, 2022, without any gunshot residue results from that white Audi.
That's correct.
You said you saw a car in that video, the FedEx video. Ms. Hilton, could you play the FedEx video for me? Thank you. And it can be 101:20. We can start. I think it's fair to say you saw a car making a U-turn on the video, and you saw it was a little odd.
Yes.
It piqued your interest?
Well, it just, yeah, it did. I wouldn't say it piqued my interest. It just went with the situation, I guess.
I think you said you thought on direct, you testified, you thought that the person driving that car may have heard or seen something, correct?
Yes, I did.
And the reason you say that is because that person driving that car abruptly made a U-turn.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are. It's not ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we could do 101:20, yeah, just. That's that's red Versa pulling up, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that would be the white Audi,
Yes.
and that would be the white Fusion pulling up on the right lane, correct?
That's correct.
That's not the car that makes the U-turn, is it?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay. And Mr. Stillwell is now running the light. He's no longer there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. We see now this car pulls up and makes that interesting U-turn, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your determination is maybe they did that because they may have seen or heard something, correct?
Maybe.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Anything, Ms. Weinstein?
No, Your Honor.
Redirect?
I actually want to start right here at the FedEx video. Was there anything in the video, once you actually watched it, that was inconsistent with what you were told by the FedEx person?
No, ma'am.
In the video we just watched, prior to Mr. Stillwell fleeing into the red light, was the white Fusion and the Audi stopped for a moment before fleeing into oncoming traffic.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Schardt asked you a number of reasons as to why a person may rent a vehicle. Do you remember him asking you that?
I do, yes.
Or why they may put tint on a window? Do you remember him asking you a series of questions?
Yes.
Can a person place tinted windows on a rental car to conceal themselves in an attempt to seek revenge on the person that they think may have killed their two friends 3 days before?
Yes.
Mr. Schardt asked you a series of questions about whether or not someone may be rolling a blunt in a car or things of that nature. Do you know if while they were sitting in the car, both the individuals in the Audi and the individuals in the Ford Fusion, if they were maybe talking to each other in the car? Do you know if they were doing that?
I do not know.
Do you know if the people in both cars were on FaceTime with each other?
I do not know.
Do you know if the individuals were in the car planning at that time to kill someone? Do you know if that was happening?
I do not know.
Mr. Stillwell, the Audi was backed in. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And if the Audi was backed in, did they have the vantage point of seeing Mr. Drinks when his car pulled into the gas station?
Yes.
Did the Audi, because it was backed in, have the vantage point to see Mr. Drinks as he walked into the gas station?
They did, yes.
Did the Audi, because of his vantage point, see when Mr. Drinks left the gas station and got back into his car?
Yes.
And was it the Audi that immediately pulled off once Mr. Drinks' car pulled off?
Yes.
And then the Fusion followed?
That's correct.
And that was the same vehicle in which Mr. Jackson, it appeared, was the driver?
That's correct.
Mr. Schardt asked you a number of questions about the facial features of, I think, both Mr. Nichols and Mr. Stillwell while they were inside of the gas station. Do you remember him asking you a series of questions about that?
Yes.
Do you know what their facial expressions looked like while they were in the tinted vehicle?
No.
Do you know if, as they saw Shamel Drink walking into the car, that their facial expressions changed from what they looked like inside of the BP gas station?
I think we're getting to facts, not evidence. It's complete speculation at this point.
Sustained.
Now, I want to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 118 BV. And I'm going to go to 9:49 p.m. the read. And does that read say Windsor Street and Richardson Avenue?
It does, yes.
And is that location that's not too far from the gas station?
That's correct, yes.
And at what time is the Audi passing the LPR reader on Windsor and Richardson Street?
9:49 with 6 seconds.
And Mr. Schardt asked you whether or not the surveillance video camera times are accurate. We're looking at this time here at 9:49 and looking at the surveillance video timestamps, especially at the BP. Would that help you determine if whether or not the BP gas station video was accurate or not?
Yes.
Okay. And based on looking at both the LPR reader and the timestamps on the BP video, Are those times, do they seem to be accurate?
They seem to be similar, yes. They're not exact, but they are similar.
Okay. And about how far would you say the Richardson and Windsor is from where that BP gas station is?
Not far. It kind of depends on traffic and the light, but anywhere from a few seconds to a minute or two.
Okay. Now, Mr. Schardt asked you about the headliner and gunshot residue. Do you remember those series of questions?
I do.
If a car is cleaned, could that remove any GSR that may have been in the car?
From what I understand, yes.
Now, looking at the BP video and FedEx, did any other car besides the white Audi and the white Fusion that immediately followed the red Versa, was there any other car that immediately followed the red Versa out of the BP gas station?
No, ma'am.
Were there any other cars that pulled up right next to the red Versa outside of the Audi and the BP and the Fusion?
No.
Was it after the Audi and the Fusion pulled up right next to the red Versa, and after they left, the red Versa just sat there for about 27 minutes?
That's correct.
The damage on the red Versa, is that all on the driver's side, on the passenger side of the red Versa?
That's correct.
And is that the side of the vehicle closest to the driver's side of where the driver's side of the Audi would have been?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Schardt asked you a number of questions. Why would someone keep the rental car, or why would they say that the car was their car with a car with a name? Do you remember some questions similar to that?
Yes.
At the time in which Investigator Verito was speaking to Mr. Jackson at the house that got shot up, had you and Investigator Verito talked about your investigation?
No.
Had you shown Investigator Viverito your surveillance video by the time that she was talking to Mr. Stillwell at that house?
No.
Prior to talking to Investigator Viverito, did you know that there was a white Audi at a house that was recently just shot up?
No.
Did you know that Mr. Stillwell was in a pink Floyd shirt prior to talking to Investigator Viverito while she spoke with him at the house that got shot up?
No.
Did you know that Miles Farley was with him at the house that just got shot up in the same clothes prior to talking to Investigator Viverito?
No.
Were you ever made aware of an individual by the name of Deamonte Garlington was also at the house along with Miles Farley and Shannon when Investigator Viverito spoke with them?
No.
With the red Versa, did you ever learn if that was a rental car or not?
No, it was, I don't believe it was. I believe it belonged to one of his family members.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
I believe it belonged to one of Mr. Drake's family members, the red car. I think, if I recall right.
Did the Versa have any tinted windows?
No.
Court's indulgence for one moment. Mr. Schardt asked you about Mr. Stillwell's conversations with Investigator Viverito at the home. Do you remember him asking you about the conversation Mr. Stillwell had with Investigator Viverito when she met with him at the house?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did Mr. Stillwell ever tell Investigator Viverito why he had tinted windows on a rental vehicle?
No.
Did he ever tell Investigator Viverito why he put tints on the car within a few hours of renting the vehicle?
Objection, Your Honor. That's not enough.
Sustained.
Mr. Schardt asked you about seeing a muzzle flash at the light. Did you see any muzzle flashes at all on that surveillance video?
I looked for him, couldn't see any, no.
But was there still a deceased individual sitting at that light once you arrived on the scene?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge if Mr. Stillwell told Investigator Viverito when he put those tints on his vehicle?
I do not.
I have no further questions.
Request.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, you're excused. I believe y'all got one more witness.
He's gonna be long, but we can start.
What?
We can start him, yes, he's gonna be long, is what she said. We can start.
How long?
About an hour and a half.
To an hour and a half? Wish y'all had kept a shorter witness. Okay, I guess we'll stop for the day. I mean, I don't know who the witness is.
Detective Vampire.
Who?
Detective Vampire.
All right. Break for a few days.
Phone
Right.
and also from Glenn, I think myself and Mr.
No, we are here on.
No, I know, we're here.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. I mean, they know. Oh, yes, yes.
No court tomorrow at all, but.
No court tomorrow. Friday, we're doing non-jury matters, and I need a list of what we need to cover by that time. And then by Monday, I need at least preliminary jury instructions.
Me standing here was trying to get ahead of being told that I hadn't responded to Ms. Persfield's.
Oh, no,
emails.
no. I mean, I know y'all been in court all day.
The
but-
plan, I think myself and Mr. Weinstein are going to meet tomorrow morning,
Okay,
and we're going to do everything we can to compile a list and get it out to the court
okay.
and the state as early as possible from our perspective, what needs to be on the agenda on Friday.
Great, thank you.
I wonder if it'd be possible, maybe we'll have nothing on the agenda.
I mean, that would be fantastic, but highly unlikely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, y'all, if you want to like work amongst yourselves to narrow down whatever we are going to have for Friday, that would be fantastic.
In all seriousness, I think one of the biggest things that needs to be litigated, I have, and I'm not trying to speak out of school, but I've had conversations with Ms. Hilton, and there's talk about what they're really going to seek to admit from my client's phone
Right.
and also from the wiretap. And there's rumors that that might be pared down. But I think what they're seeking to admit and also the mechanics of how that would be admitted, I think are probably something that we need to discuss, especially as it applies to investigator Viverito.
Okay, well, y'all can discuss that amongst yourselves first. And certainly, I know we've definitely had indications from Ms. Hilton that the wiretap and cell phone evidence was going to be pared down. It's probably time, if you have not shared yet what that paring down is, to share that with Mr. Schardt. So that,
That's tomorrow.
all right.
Judge, you said the jury charges start on Monday or Tuesday?
No, I'd like for y'all to have to me at least your preliminary stab at what y'all are going to want for jury charges. And I'm not saying we're going to take them up then. We're going to be doing trial next week, but.
The reason I'm asking is you also asked about Mr.
Yeah.
What day?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, how, do y'all want to just come up here and discuss scheduling?
Yes.
All right, y'all. So I had a couple of little mishaps in this live. So there's a lot of my audio is not on here because I forgot a step. Anywho, yeah, busted live, but it's all good. This is how we learn. This is how I grow. There is a piece that I believe the defense and the state missed, and I'm gonna come back with a video on that. So let me decompress and get something out to you guys, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. I appreciate you guys. Love you down. Bye.